Hello, I'm Blade Boquest, and this is episode 5 of the Blade Edge. You got 2 episodes after this, you guys. Now, this is session 3 with the second student I ended up coaching on Xbox. So this is the final session. We're going over a lot of the stuff that he did. This was not primarily a guide. This was one-on-one coaching that I did last year that I want to put on my YouTube channel to hopefully help you guys out. So if it's a little bit slow, that's okay. This was the hour that I gave him personally. A lot of it was listening, and he didn't want his voice in the YouTube video, so that's cut out. So you might hear some pauses. I did my best to edit it out. You can skip the first couple minutes if you don't want the recap on how the last 2 sessions went for him. But overall, it goes over a lot of cooking information, definitely touches on gathering and alchemy and crafting, gearing, strategy, and investing. Sound like a Black Desert guide? Well, that's because it is. So you've got basically the standard success principles, but tailored specifically towards the Xbox server. And this is the final session with our second student. 2 more sessions after this, you guys. Blade Edge episode 6 and 7 will be coming on the channel on March. So I just want to take a second and thank my Patreons. I really do appreciate what you guys do. I'm actually a full-time content creator. So in the past I owned real estate, but I got rid of those at the end of last year. And the only thing I have really is Twitch, honestly, and my Patreons here on YouTube. So I've got a list of my that's awkward. Well, never mind. It seems I don't have any Patreons. That's okay. I want to thank my viewers for watching this. That's cool. That's cool too. All right, great. So let's go right in to the coaching video. Seriously though, I am a full-time content creator. So if you didn't know, I have a Patreon and merch below and live stream and other socials. You guys do want to allow me to stay here making guides for you. The channel just hit 4 million views in the last week. I've been a YouTuber for, I don't know, dang near 10 years, but really only got some traction in the last 4 years making gaming guides. I've really enjoyed it, and thank you guys for watching and subscribing. You know, whatever it is that you guys have done, your contribution levels, I do appreciate that, and I hope you really enjoy this video. I'd love to see you on the live stream, twitch.tv/BladeBoquest. All right, let's dive right in. Hey, dude, good seeing you. How have you been? Nice. Me too. Yeah, it was definitely awesome. Alright, man, so since this is our final session, I definitely want to cover a couple gaps that we haven't quite hit yet. We're going to talk about cooking a little bit, but really I want to see what you've done the last 2 weeks. So that's kind of why this last session is like 2-3 weeks apart from the first couple. So I can see what you've done to see if anything's been missed, look at the market again, see if there's any new opportunities. And the majority of what we're going to talk about is basically future updates and how to prepare for those. So 1.6 billion last couple weeks, that's pretty freaking good. Well, there you go. Nice, good job having the boss halt. Yeah, that's so effective, just managing those little boss halts. As the bosses, you know, continue, you know, you're eventually gonna need one for Vel out in the ocean, you're gonna need one for Garmouth. So yeah, they really are just really good interval income. Perfect. Oh, nice. 150 sharps and hards, that's pretty good. Well, that's amazing. Nice. It's crazy, right? That's what people, it's so easy to overlook until you really break down the prices. So good job sticking to pine for a while and then swapping off it. It's interesting that fur would go up to 9,000. That is kind of fascinating. Yeah, so you'd need it for plywood hardeners, you would need it for a handful of the Imperial Alchemies. Yeah, interesting. And I see pine back up to 8.5, so that's pretty freaking solid. Ooh. Uh-oh. Okay. Yup. Yeah, I made that mistake. Right. Well, that's good. And good job, you know, experimenting. Yeah, Manos, you can definitely kind of hold back on if it's not highly productive. I just wanted to make sure that you understood the process, because later on you're going to see people just start to buy them out where you can start producing, you know, unlimited a day almost, and just crank them out pretty fast. Right. Okay. Right, the sturdy alchemy. Right. Yeah, those work too. This all sounds really good. Your system's really come along. That's perfect. That's the real key. Yeah, I saw that. That's so funny. Wow. They're probably gonna keep going down for ever at this point. Yeah, right, but that's gonna be a while. When do you have a roadmap for when you're getting that? All right, that's nuts. I did not expect it that soon. Wow, the Xbox timeline is so crazy. Okay. Well, in that case, yeah, keep sitting on those. And honestly, this would be the perfect time for wagons, because it's just unlimited storage. Yeah, exactly. So. Alright, so yeah, some of the enhanced kernel is going to start selling now that the Game Pass Xbox players are out. So they're out there fishing and doing whatever they can, and they don't know how to enhance, and they'll just buy Duo and try stuff. Even TED stuff if you can get it. So one thing to pay attention to with the Manos Earring, while I wouldn't say that's like an ideal way to continue your production for all time, it's a market that you definitely have to be aware of, because what will eventually happen is there'll be a lot of different Manos sellers later down the road in a few months and things like that, and these will start to sit at min price. Whenever they sit at min price, sellers will still be able to basically get like a 24 and 48 hour turnover, and they'll get over $1 million profit per Manos that they sell. But a lot of people are going to be leaving the market, and when they leave the market, they'll actually sell one version down below that. They're going to start selling the corrupted Manos earrings, which, as you know, yeah, okay, so that's really where we come along and make our profit. So I wanted you to get the experience of doing all 6 steps, but it's such a pain to make them start to finish. So exactly. So now that you've done the whole thing, you know, you can still do it as long as it's interesting and convenient, but it is a pretty heavy contribution investment if you want to just go more passive with nodes. That way you can focus on everything else without having to maintain this. Just keep your eye on the market every couple weeks. Eventually, I mean, I've been able to just swoop out and buy tons of the corrupted earrings, and each one just has like a built-in profit of over $1 million, and then it's only one step. Oh, they're even right now on the market at 1.2 mil. Yeah, so each one of those, I mean, it's profitable for me to buy them over like between 2 and 3 million. So each one of these you would snag, you know, you're looking at 6+ million, and then it only takes about a half an hour to make that one step. So not Ocean, it would be the Blood Ruby. Or are you talking about the other earrings, the sapphire earrings? Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely say it'd be worthwhile, just because at that point you're looking at a handful of million that you're making every hour, and I mean, I don't know, ballpark. I haven't looked at Xbox prices in a couple weeks, but if it was what they used to be, you're probably looking at 50 million in a day from one workshop, which is not bad. So that'll allow you to just, you know, give up the whole contribution of your earlier jewelry steps. You've gotten the experience, you know how to do it, you know what prices to look for, and now you can recognize these opportunities even better. So yeah. Oh, cool. One person selling them? Well, I mean, he works for you now. That's pretty cool. All right, good stuff. You know how to check max quantity of items and things like that sold? Have we talked about that? So this was just an update that they gave us on PC. I'm hoping that you have it. Let me double check. It's close. Yeah. Dang. Okay, well, yeah, you can't see the individual level prices, or how many have been sold at like each enhanced level. But if you just click on a standard item at the top, like I just randomly clicked in a mercenary steel shield or mercenary great sword, the top says total trades. So it'll tell you how many have been sold. You've seen that before, right? I don't think so, but I'll buy this thing and find out right now. Did it really? That seems strange that it would go. Hang on, let me buy it and let me buy something to find out. Just by putting something on the market that's not sold, the total trades is going up. I've never come in contact with that before. Oh, that's very weird. That doesn't make any sense that they would have it that way. Alright, I'm gonna buy something else real quick and see, because my last test didn't really do much. Alright, so I'm buying an Elsh longsword for no reason. Yeah, Elsh is solid. I'm seeing the total trades go up as I buy things. I'm gonna list that same item I just bought and see if it goes up, because I think that it was just a coincidence that things have been being sold at the same time you've listed them, and it just looks as if when you list it, that's happening. I would be very surprised if that's how that works. Alright, so I just bought an Elsh sword, it went up. I'm gonna list it and then look at it again and see if it went up. It did not go up, now mine's on the market. So, yep, so we're good to confirm total trades is just the number of sold, which is really important. So when we were talking about, I think it was the oil of corruption that you said, and other kinds of things, like the saps, so people are undercutting a gigantic amount. So something that's worth doing is if you actually look at the sap and you go into miscellaneous and stuff like that. So this has been one of my most useful tools. Oh wait, not miscellaneous. Seeds and fruit. Plants, actually. Hang on. So in plants, in sap, so if you look at it, you can actually see how much total has been sold. Like for pine sap, we're looking at 1.8 million sap. Tons and tons and tons. If you just casually glance at that, get a ballpark figure, you don't have to go as far as spreadsheets or writing these things down, but if you just come back tomorrow and look at that, that'll tell you how much has sold over the course of 24 hours. So then when you're doing it as your primary source of income for gathering and you're listing it and you see, okay, there's 5,000 on the market and they're all undercutting me by 2,000, it's tempting to undercut them and think, okay, this is the natural price. But if 50,000 sell every day, then, you know, those few thousand will be gone within, you know, half hour or an hour. So just having a ballpark idea on the quantity of that item type sold in a 24-hour period gives you better control over what prices you set, and it's going to make you more profit. Right. Yeah, a lot of times it isn't. So if you want to pay attention to that, just going forward with all sorts of different items, with, you know, crystals, with accessories. Accessories is when I really started to track that, and it made all the difference. But yeah, dude, I mean, this system that you have now seems really well developed. This is fantastic. So you got your active income of grinding and gathering pretty well sorted. You get your passive income of a variety of different nodes. So talking a little bit more about nodes. So the way I've liked to do node networks in the past is really be very flexible with it. So when I see opportunities in the market for manufacturing, like you said, Grunel, for example, or these Manos, things like that, I will just rip the contribution out of my node network, have my workers sit idle. Occasionally in the past I've actually sold workers and then retrained them, but I feel like that's probably more inefficient overall. But if you need silver in a pinch, you know, there's always selling them. So I would reinvest my contribution into workshops and then have almost no nodes going. That would really just be useful for things like the opportunities a few weeks ago where you had the ultimate reform stones. It would have been possible to like crank out all of the different grade 3 armor and weapon stones and use sharps and things like that to turn them into ultimate. And then that's a very short-lived opportunity, so at that point I would basically uninvest that and then gather, put it into nodes. So if ever I want to really grind or just do something where I want to have like a pretty passive empire, I'll get rid of all of my manufacturing and get like 75 nodes set up, and I almost don't care what it is because it's always going to pay for the beer. So I buy the beer and then I just run whatever nodes and I sell most of the things that I just can't use myself. It pays for itself and it's passive income, and then there's less hassle. That way you can gather and grind and stuff like that. So rather than find the most effective, most efficient worker per node and have a permanent work empire, mine has always been really flexible. Either way will work, but I just wanted to kind of mention that that's been my standpoint on it. Yeah. Like which material at this point? Maybe I can. Well, that's good. That's fine. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so timber you're good to infinitely stockpile. Like you really can't ever have too much of that because it's always going to be one of your most profitable items. Not only could you sell it and then make up the cost of beer, you would never really want to, because, you know, unless you're doing something like drying milk like we talked about before, the processing of crates long term is a very good passive income thing. So that's not a bad way to go. Right. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, sounds like you favor kind of the same style that I am, where, you know, it's nice to be flexible and focus on what you want to do right there, bashing your actions. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. It's worth it just to buy, right? Yeah, that's fine, and it will change for sure. Right, and they're basically looking at the XP that they're getting from that, and so they're just making it because it's new for them. So talking about... Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are party elixirs on the market. Okay, they're all pretty low prices though. Let's look at... Wait, does that mean you have the... Sorry, just sneeze there. Does that mean you have the blue reagents as well, or no? Well, that could mean actually some really good new opportunities for you. Let me go see if that exists. So if it does, it would be at a material vendor. Nice. Yeah, that's fun, right? I like that place. Pirates isn't affected by it. Pretty much just Hex for those witch earrings or manchas, simply because they're so dense that you can often get relics. But honestly, yeah, Calfy doesn't have a lot of great stuff. Yeah, so I'm looking at what you have here. So you have Owl's Tears to turn things into party, like you said, but we cannot turn them into blue reagents. So let's look at the Human Hunt elixir real quick on the market. Actually, I want to tell you about a new kind of system here. We haven't talked about this before. So let's see. Offensive. Yeah, offensive Human Hunt. Okay, so tons of people are selling them because generally they're pretty cheap to make, and they're selling them at 3K, so they're kind of freaking worthless. We already talked about the 0.3 proc on blues, which is what makes it slightly worthwhile. Well, eventually, and pretty dang soon, you're going to get something called a blue reagent. Now, these can be purchased in unlimited quantity right off of a vendor, and they're only 50k a piece. And what happens is you take 3 green elixirs with 1 blue, and then it turns it blue. So you can infinitely take 60k into 160k. And here's where it gets even better, dude. So for whatever reason, you guys got the Ilbeb Oasis tier or whatever. It's a weird little thing for 10k. It's on the material vendor. So that allows you to basically manufacture elixirs in simple alchemy and by a factor of 10. Which pretty much means you can take this 60k cost to 160k 10 times, like at the same time, and you can do that every basically 10 seconds or however often this simple processing works, which means you'll be making around 1 million every 10 seconds. Yeah, and only for what I'm looking at here with Human Hunt elixirs. If I look through the rest, Frenzy isn't doing it. Yeah, exactly. So you'll be well on top of that, and that's one of the things, like, you'll make all your money and then you'll probably never be able to do it again, but it's something that's fantastic. Yeah, Ilbo or whatever it is. No, it's a material vendor item. So yeah, so it's called Ilbalab's Essence specifically. Yep. So it just allows you to do simple alchemy, and you can do it 10 times. Now, eventually, you'll be able to basically manufacture drafts at a 10 times ratio as well. Now, drafts are incredibly valuable. We'll talk a little bit more about those later. But those are like well after Port Rad and Margoria, and it's you're probably looking at a year. I think you got a while, most likely. But so somebody I'm coaching on the PC market, I didn't even like have them go through everything to like make these steps. If we just bought everything off of the market and then turned it into a draft, you could get somewhere along the lines of 40k per draft. And you know, that's not great at making them one every 10 seconds, but when you manufacture those 10 times at the same time, you're now looking at 400k. So you're looking at over 1 million a minute, basically. And this was like a no-brainer that he could do AFK. That's just because people don't think like this. And PC players, like, everyone should know about this stuff, but they still just leave these opportunities. So eventually, you know, drafts will be a really big thing. But anyway, so that was one thing about alchemy I wanted to mention. Let's see. So let's table the future updates till kind of the end of this session. So we talked about passive income in the nodes, and you're doing that really well. Interval income, you've got a really good understanding of it. You have multiple boss alts around. How is that little level 30, 40 guy with the elites been going? Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. Yeah. Great. Cool, okay, so you have found it effective. Yeah, it really is just a time filler. Like, if I'm at a boss or something and it's just going so slowly, I might just be like, well, alright, I'm gonna kill elites on 4 channels and then pop back, and then I'll just get some of the last hits on the boss, and then I still have a chance at a box, so that should just be a filler. Did we talk about the elites in Kadri and Gahaz? I forget if we did. Okay, good, making sure. I now have 4 people I'm coaching, so I'm starting to lose track of what I've told everybody. Alright, so Gahaz and Kadri are really nice elites as well. So there are 9 elites over at Kadri, and there are, I think, 11 elites at Gahaz. And these always drop 1 armor stone and 1 weapon stone, except for like a 0.1% chance not to do it. So you get a guaranteed 500k per kill. With a little bit between like 200 and 230 AP, you should be able to kill it in 30 seconds. So it's not bad. There's also a pretty high chance of scrolls. So I've killed these for between 500 and 1,000 hours. This has been one of my like primary sources of income. Came out in 2016 and I still did it even like up to like 2018. Let me double check. That's way too cheap. Oh my god. Then yeah, no, I wouldn't say that would be worth doing. But this is a later, yeah, that's crazy cheap. Yeah, I'm seeing that. Wow. So what's yeah, okay, so the events, that's interesting. So this is kind of a later down the road, like future kind of interval income, because basically you would have to have an alt around 200 AP. But what's really nice about that is while your alt is out here, it could have a pretty high income potential of around, I mean, I don't know, I usually found it was around 30 million an hour, which wasn't terrible, but that was with max weapon and armor stone, so you'd have to wait for it. What's really nice is right now, and no one's thinking about it because it's not on the radar, if those are the prices of armor and weapon stones. So pretty much every 400 elite, I've been getting a Syrups, generally, historically speaking, and I could get anywhere from like 7 to 10 written scrolls per hour. So it really wasn't too bad, and this was, I was going through the rotation at Kadri, and then I'd horse all the way up to Gahaz and I'd run through that rotation too. So just going back and forth between the channels, because we have a 15-minute cooldown. Well, you guys don't have that. That's good for you and good for us. So basically all that like 25 to 30 million an hour was assuming I was able to kill about 30 elites per hour, roughly. 30 to 35 elites, we'll say. So you're going to be able to kill much more, and it's just something to think about like in the next 4 to 6 months, where you have a lot of gear and you might have a new character that you're just not playing as much, or you don't play your old main as much, and you have a 200 AP character that could be over there. And that way your mains or your alts could be gathering, you could swap over, you can kill an elite in 30 seconds, and you know, you're guaranteed 500k up to maybe a Syrups drop. So that's just another source of interval income. That's pretty solid. There are elites in Basham that are worthless. There are no elites in Fogans, there's no elites in Crescents. It's just Gahaz and Kadri that are actually quite good and underutilized. So think about that just like in the later part of this year. Yeah, it's not too bad. Not too bad. Alright, so interval income, you've got boss alts, you've got workshops, and that's pretty much the majority of your interval income. It's just things that you can't do indefinitely and on repeat. It's just things you have to batch every once in a while, so you have a good understanding of that. Then opportunistic income, generally around buying items that have equity built in, things like the gem polishers. I know we've talked a lot about that. And things like the corrupt ruby earrings. So you look for them, you've got an opportunity to buy them and produce profit. So that's the 4th category of income. And then the 5th one is long-term investing. So we haven't talked a whole lot about long-term investing. So the problem with long-term investing is that it's not something that I can specifically teach so much as just explain what it is, and then you learn it through your own process. Because basically, if I say this item is really good to buy and wait and sell, that generally, like, it almost that's my decision off of my own knowledge and things like that, but we don't know what's going to happen in the game. So you could lose money and not even have an education. So what I suggest with these things, you pay attention to the events especially. So if, yeah, events screw it up, but events also make it possible. So event-driven economies, basically. So I'll just tell you about some of the long-term investments that I did. You can start thinking what might work for you. So we had a Weaponstone event that lasted quite a long time, and then Weaponstones tanked. So let me see what your Blackstone powder price is now. It looks like it is. If it's still below 2K, it's pretty bad. Oh god, it is. Yeah, it's only like 1.5 something thousand. So anytime you grind a Weaponstone, you get on average 90 Blackstone powder. So that's kind of like your failsafe of the bottomed out price of Weaponstones. They always have this intrinsic value because they can be used for crafting materials. So that'll prevent them from ever going down too far. And if you see Blackstone powder start sailing, like if it starts going up to 3K a piece, then that's when you know that Weaponstones can pretty much be purchased profitably up to like 220K or even a little bit further. So the correlation of Blackstone powder and Weaponstones are very important. So I see 75,000 of them on the market. That's hilarious. The max price they can go is 300K. So I ended up buying quite a few of them at like 100 and I think 80K or something in 2016. I had to hold them back for 3 months until the price just naturally rose again. And it was nice though because I ended up making like 680 million profit, which was about over 80 million per hour in terms of buying them around 80 or 180K. And I sold them all at max price for 300K, which meant after taxes I would get about 250K back. So it wasn't a crazy margin. It was something along the lines of 25% to 30%. But it was one of the first good investments that really paid off. I don't even necessarily think it makes sense to invest in them, but it's just something to be aware of because, you know, if you see the prices start moving or if you see Blackstone powder start moving, or you can, a good way to tell if this is a good investment, look at the total trades, find out how many get sold every single day. And if you were able to do this before the event came out, you would know generally like how many get purchased at the standard price of 200K or something like that. So you know, okay, how much is the overall consumption going up now that the price is lower, and that'll overall just help you watch the total supply in the market, and as that starts to fall, it'll give you a better idea of whether or not it makes sense. And unfortunately, it's super complicated, but the good news is, dude, that there's nothing better in the game than buying and selling items for profit. There truly isn't, and this isn't just an exclusive Black Desert thing. This is something that I've done for 20 years in all sorts of different games. It's very important to master all the first 4 categories of income because that builds your wealth empire. But then understanding how to multiply your overall net worth with safe returns, things like even 20 to 50%, is great. You don't need to get these 200 to 1000% return on investments. If you can get a reasonable 20% return on whatever you invest, that's fantastic. That's a good way to go. You know what's happened with my sharps and hards, right? I'm sure by this point. Yeah, so 56 billion in about 5 or 6 hours is really where that came in. Completely impossible things any other way than that. And the only way I was able to do that was by expanding my net worth over the years and practicing. So it wasn't anybody, you know, telling me this makes sense. It was a crazy risk, but it also had a good exit strategy. So when you're investing, make sure you have another way to get at least 80% of your money out of it. Bench shows and weapon cores and good deeds, you know, that was from the wagon reveal. That is going to be a consistent good investment for the next 2 or 3 years. They're going to give you Laura events, they're going to give you Halloween events, they're going to give you accessory events that give you an accessory every day for a couple weeks, and the prices will tank. And you will almost always be able to get some kind of a return from there. Yeah, I remember. Yep. Did we talk about which accessories melt or no? Okay, so I'll just go through them real quick. So Scarla will always melt for 1 hard shard. So I'm looking at Scarla, there's 16 on the market, there's 700k a piece. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, you could literally just buy those, melt those, have the hard shard, sell the hard shard at 850, and then make a profit. Not that I'm even recommending it, but it would just be a very fast, easy thing to do. What's useful though is, you know, with these events, they oversaturate these things. Bencho's always 2 hard shards. The Guardian seals are on average 1.6 sharp shards. So it's either 1 or 2, and your average is 1.6. Weapon cores are always 1. Good deeds necklaces are always 2 hard shards, always 1 sharp shard with a chance of a second sharp shard. Yep. So that's why they're 20 mil. They're pretty up there. And other things will melt, like you said, witch earrings, but those are never really worth investing for that because they have their own intrinsic value if they're used in gear. So you don't get a big margin of bottoming out like you would in benchos or weapon cores. I mean, ogre rings, you can melt those for 3 sharps. There are other things, but the relevant ones, yeah, bencho, weapon core, ancient guardian seal, and good deeds. Those are the 4 I've always focused on. And when you're investing, don't invest in the prize duos and all that stuff because you have no exit strategy. You have to basically wait for someone to buy the freaking thing, while everything else you could potentially melt them and enhance. Yeah. Oh man, you gotta save and buy them, dude. Tetrad coral earring. That's a good idea. I think you should. Yeah, Triogre is pretty freaking good too. Let me look at that. I see. Yep. So one way that's universally just useful for us to benefit if we're patient enough is that what will always happen is the community will be like more gung-ho than a reserved player will. So even if it's incredibly unlikely, someone at some point pretty soon will be getting, you know, pen ogres basically. And these are the people that aren't reserved. They don't have good strategies. They throw caution to the wind and they basically let it all ride, and eventually some person gets it and all the other players generally quit. There are a few exceptions, but that's generally what happens. So what's nice is for things like pen ogres, there's no reasonable way to get that, like on average, just through your average cost for less than 150 billion silver. However, if you're able to save the silver for the first couple people that are like, holy crap, I just did this on a 10% chance and I doubled my money. All I had was 10 billion and now I have 20 billion. They want to sell it because to them it's this huge gain. But to us, if we look at it in the long-term strategy, I mean, they're giving us free, tremendous net worth. Now, you don't have to focus on the pen strategy because this game's only been out like less than 120 days at this point. But so that's the strategy though that I've always used. I called it the silver threshold gearing method, and it simply means that it on average generally costs more to make your own item than it does to buy them. With the central market, yep, go ahead. Right. Yeah, you're right. The way these prices are with Duo Ogre at 850 million and Tri-Ogre would probably cost you 5 billion on average to make one. It would be more than twice this. Yeah, and obviously it's possible, but on average it just doesn't work out that way. So the central market is going to have high fluctuation where eventually you're going to see things like Ted Ogres in the 20 plus billion range, and at that point it probably could be more effective to enhance your own. But if you, I know you have to stay competitive with Arsha and stuff like that. If while you're playing, if you stop worrying about these incremental gear gains of, okay, I want 240 AP and I want 245 AP and I want 250 AP. If you're like, okay, I can make money by life skilling, I have the gear to PvP, I'm going to be saving, and you save that 10 billion, you save that 15 billion. Eventually, these tets will hit the market, and they will basically just save you 10 billion in net worth of if you had to get it yourself. And nice. Yeah, and there's nothing, I mean, that's a really good, that's like a perfect way to go right now. That's like your threshold tri-ogre. Yeah. Right? Yeah, that'll happen. So the way like the last 3 years have gone is pretty much aggressive silver rebuilding, where I'll do everything I can to get as much silver as whatever I'm saving for. And I always save for something that is far outside of my standard jump. And that, dude, is the secret. It's literally, that is the biggest secret. It calls for patience, it calls for willpower, it calls for strategy, and people will not do it. And you might not have the most competitive gear, you know, month to month to month, but you will in these big thresholds that you set for yourself. If you yeah, it's crazy, man. I actually, if you do the math on what I got in the last 2 months, I basically saved myself 300 billion of what I would have to spend if I enhanced that myself. And that's over 20,000 hours. And that's how you have to be thinking if you want to play this game for 2 to 3 years. So I'm really excited, man. I feel like you got the tools. This has been really good working with you so far. We're not done, but I'm really excited to see where you've gone so far and where you're going. All right, cool. Let's talk about some future updates, I guess, with the game. Yeah, I want to do cooking. Yeah, let's do cooking first, actually. So cooking is a really good life skill. Let me browse through some of your prices here. Alright, so I'm seeing fruit wine at 4K a piece. So did we, I guess we haven't talked about cooking much at all, right? Alright. You can buy strawberries indefinitely at the fruit vendor at Calfy. Right, okay, I guess we talked about that for contribution. Oh, nice. It's cool. Let me look at the price of exotic herbal wine. Okay, so exotic herbal wine. Do you have a 1 second cook time yet? I forget if we talked about that. Oh yeah. You don't have Alex Stones. That's why. Okay. All right. So right now with the 2 second cook time, I've already done this math a bunch of times, but it's easy to do. Essentially, with fruit wine, you're probably looking at maybe 12 million an hour if you're just cooking this stuff up, because all it does is take this exotic herbal wine, takes a couple mineral waters, and it takes some fruit with like 1 or 2 other minor ingredients. And with a 1 second cook time, even with between a 4 and 5K fruit wine price, you're looking at 25 million an hour. So with the 2 second cook time, it's about half that. Yeah, here have you gone to the website BDO DAE'd yet? Alright, you're gonna love this thing, dude. I'm gonna send it to you on Discord. So this is a primary tool for cooking. That's absolutely fantastic. So if you look at that, let's go to fruit wine. Now fruit wine is still a more basic recipe, but you're mentioning that most of the things are bottomed out, so that was the first thing that's listed, and I was just thinking, okay, there's profit there. Let's see, fruit wine. Right, exactly. Yeah, it's perfect, dude. It's so perfect. So, that's great, dude. It's really great. So that's like a very easy, that's something that's profitable. I wouldn't replace anything else you're doing with that, but that's just one aspect of it. Now, fruit wine goes into a lot of other recipes, so the real profit comes from making specials. Serendia special, Knights Combats rations, and sometimes Ballino specials are typically like the big 3 very, very good recipes. That's what I want to look at right now, yeah. We'll find out, let's see. Carrot confit, that's something that people are tempted to make. It has a 1-to-1 ratio. It's not like the other 2.5 average procs. So you can steer clear of that. So what happens whenever these bottom out like this, it basically becomes profitable to make one step below a lot of times. Now if they're, yeah, exactly, like things like a ham sandwich or bloody pudding instead of making the Knights Combats. Like let's look at bloody pudding again, and then eventually I'll see the Knights Combats ration. So if we find bloody pudding on there, it's sold out and it's 24k, or dark pudding is what it would be on BDO DAE. All the way up to there. That's pretty good. So it takes bird meat, so that's just chicken meat, 5 chicken meat. It would take pickled vegetable. You could buy that off the market for 3k a piece. No, standard bird meat, like just chicken meat from your nodes. So the expensive part of this would be farm blood and oatmeal. So let me look at the farm blood price. Farm blood. Oops. So farm blood, by the way, is pig blood or deer blood or sheep blood. Oh, holy crap, dude. Okay, this is your recipe. You're in good shape here. So, God, these Xbox players, man. Are you kidding me? This is so funny. All right, dude, this is gonna be good. So we're gonna do the math, and you'll see why I'm cracking up right now. This is awesome. So we have 32. That's the price of dark pudding, and we're gonna multiply that by 2.5 because you're gonna make on average 2.5 procs, the same as alchemy. So that right there gives you a standard price of 80,000. Now there's also a rare proc of this, which you make 30% of the time. So I don't know what the price is. We're just gonna assume it's around the same price because either dark pudding or something like that. Yeah, it has such a similar name. I'll find it here for you. Oh, that's why. Okay, so dark pudding is the standard blue one. So bloody, that's why. Okay, so we're gonna go 24 for the base price times 24 times 2.5. So we're looking at 60k right there. And then we have the 32 times 0.3. So we have 30% chance of getting one of these guys, so that basically adds 9.6k to this whole process. So we take 60k, your base dark pudding with the bloody dark pudding, 30% chance, we're looking at 70,000 silver. So 70,000 times 0.845, and now we're looking at 59,000. So we're 59,000, now we're gonna start subtracting the cost. So probably your biggest cost, I thought it was gonna be this blood, dude. I thought these bloods would be like 5 or 6k a piece. You have 300,000 on the market for under a k each. So this is completely insane. But anyway, so that means oatmeal will probably be one of the problems. Let me check what the prices are there. So food, oatmeal. If you can search for it faster, that's fine too. I'm just kind of tapping. Oh, there it is. It's okay, I found it. Alright, so oatmeal you can actually buy in the market for 17,000, and there's 400 on there. You can also easily make this with milk that you can generally buy on the market because it's pretty expensive. So, but that's fine. So buying milk and making oatmeal would be about the same like net gain loss as just buying oatmeal on the market, which is why, or at least it wouldn't be a big enough difference for it to be interesting. It's not like it's a crazy silver per hour or a big loss. So whether you have to make your own oatmeal or buy it, either one is fine. So right now they're on the market and they're there for 18k. So our net profit after tax from making one batch of dark pudding is 60k. We're going to subtract one oatmeal. That's, we'll just say 18k. And then we have bird meat, which you probably can't even get rid of, or maybe you're making, yeah, exactly. So if you were to buy it, you would take 5k off the price. We'll just do that anyway, but you have your own to use. Pickled vegetables were sitting on the market and those were 3k. So we're going to subtract 3k from this, and then 7 times the farm blood, which is less than 1,000 each. So each time you make this, you're producing 26,000 silver profit after tax selling it on the market, and they're sold out. 26,000. Yeah, dude. So I can generally cook about 2,500 times in an hour with a 1 second cook time. You would be able to do it about half of that. So we're going to take 26,000 silver times 1250, and you're looking at 32,700,000 profit per hour AFK cooking. Exactly. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I would take that a step earlier and probably make your own oatmeal. There's only 400 on the market, and oatmeal will be your bottleneck. So I saw pickled vegetables up here. Those are really easy to make as well. There's only 1,000 on the market. So let's just go over those recipes real quick. So to make oatmeal, it would take 9 flour, 2 honey, 3 milk, and 3 onions. Onions would be the bottleneck behind oatmeal, but with this market, I mean, you can buy that stuff. Yeah, exactly. And then worst case scenario, you can farm it. So that's the recipe for oatmeal. So you'd basically just make, you know, a few batches of stuff like that. And then pickled vegetables, very easy. It's 2 leavening agents, you get that up from the vendor. 2 sugar, that's from the vendor. 8 vegetables. Now vegetables are not exactly what you think they are. So they're not only the paprika that you can get from Calfy, but they're also pumpkins. Yeah, so you can use 8 pumpkins, which I imagine are probably freaking min price on the server, like 260k or whatever. I don't know, let me double check it for you. Material. There you go, that's perfect. So just take 8 of those guys and then 4 vinegar. Did you make a bunch of vinegar? No. Vinegar is just as easy to make as essence of liquor. It just takes 1 whole fruit instead of, no wait, it just takes 1 whole grain instead of the flour. So it's pretty easy. Right. Yeah. So essence of liquor, because it uses flour, you can make it more times from the same ingredients, but you know, grain is simple. It's pretty profitable to process flour overnight, just because you can make so much of it. So well, what do you do overnight? Right. Right, yeah, you want to do it while you're there. And you can still do that. So because of the profit built into the recipe, buying flour would be fine for, I mean, you don't even need flour for this. Oh, for oatmeal, right? The 9 flour. Yeah, so you could buy flour and it would be totally fine. It would work with the cost. So either way you want to go. It's just if you did the overnight processing of flour, probably your net worth increase would be better than most things that you could do. Yeah. Right, so that's ideal. Right, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, actually horse trading is one of the only things I've never done overnight. Pay to win, yeah. Right. That makes sense. Alright, so we looked at fruit wine, we looked at dark pudding. Both of those are 2 out of the 4 things that go into Knight's Combat's rations. So I want to see what those prices are and what the quantity is before we decide if we're just making subcomponents or going further. Let's see here. Wish there was a section of like finished top quality meals or something, or alphabetical order. Oh, nice. Did they? Okay. Right. That makes sense. Dude, oh wow. These prices are good. Okay. Knight's Combat's ration is 60k a piece. So the way you'd find out if that was profitable is just you take your 60k times 2.5. Now Knight's Combat's rations do not have a special proc. It's one of the only ones that don't have it. So that throws off a lot of new chefs. So anyway, 60k times 2.5 is 150k. times 0.845, you're looking at 126k. So every time you make Knights Combat's Rations and you sell it, you get 126k back. So all the subcomponents were pretty expensive, as we saw, but I'm seeing that there's still profit in this. So yeah, it really would be. So we subtract, say we're buying all the ingredients instead of making them. So fruit wine, we'll subtract 4.5, and then the dark bloody things that we're just looking at, you can buy them up to 30k, so we'll just subtract 30k for the cost there. So that leaves 92,000 profit with only two other aspects to buy, which would be ham sandwiches and it would be croquet. So let me see what we got here in terms of those. Okay, there's crispy meat croquet, that's the blue one, and that's only 17k a piece. Of course, there's only 52, but if you put a buy order on that, it would fill, and you're gonna constantly be making money because that's way too cheap. The alternative is the green one, which would be something, and there are no green ones at all, but those are 30k. So even say like those buy order fills, we'll just subtract another 30k for max price meat croquet. Now that leaves 62,000 profit, and the only thing left is the ham sandwich, which should be viable. Let me look. Ham sandwich, what are we looking at? Now I ran into these a couple times. Yeah, the cooking market has a lot of good opportunities, so this is definitely something I'm glad we're going over. Yeah, and you'll really love it after you start making some of these. Ham sandwich, ham sandwich. So premium ham sandwich is sitting on the market at 32k. So yeah, our final step here has a 62k silver profit built in, so we could buy the premium ham sandwich for 32k. That would still be 30k every time you cook, and that's even better than making the dark bloody pudding thing. And then ham sandwiches can be purchased in not quite unlimited quantity, but there's 3,000 on the market and they're under 30k. So here's where the profit gets really crazy. So basically, if you're making good profit making the subcomponents, and you're making even better profit making the finished products by buying the subcomponents, you have a compounded profit effect by making both steps. And here's the reason. So yeah, it is. So the reason is, so the dark pudding profit that we just examined, that was taking a 15% loss from selling it on the market. So now if you aren't selling it and you're consuming it yourself, you add in an extra 15% on top of it, because when we did the profit for making Knights Combat's Rations, we just used the same price that we would sell or buy at, because that was the accurate market price. So yeah, that's why you trace the ingredients back and see, okay, is this reasonable profit to make that step? If so, you should make it over buying it, because you can save on the taxes. So right now it would make sense to basically make your own dark pudding and then use that for Knights Combat's Rations. Fruit wine, I don't love the profits on it. It's easy to make, and it would still be, with your 2-second cook time, it'd still be around like 12 million an hour. But you already have all these different ways of making way more than that an hour. So just buying fruit wine would be fine. Right, so that's how you decide that. And then the other two things would be meat croquet and ham sandwiches. They're not the easiest things to make, but they're not that bad. So let's look at ham sandwich for a sec. Good. Yeah, okay, good. So the big problem with ham sandwich generally is the meat. I did see grilled sandwiches, or grilled meat, just sitting, or grilled sausage, I think it's called. No, it's only the red meat for that. So let's see here. I had a lot of fun with cooking. A lot of fun. Made quite a few billions too. Let's see. So grilled sausage is sitting on the market for 10k a piece, which is pretty freaking good. Always check the blue version of this meal as well. So the blue version counts as 2, which is useful. But a lot of times people just don't think about it, so they actually sell it for a lot less than the green. It happens all the time. Alright, so ham sandwich, for example, takes 2 grilled sausage. So 4 eggs, 2 grilled sausage, soft bread, 5 vegetables, which would just be 5 pumpkins, so that's like no cost at all. Are eggs expensive on your server? Are they like 1,000 each, or are they really selling? let me double check. Material, miscellaneous. Forget where eggs are. Yeah, you actually always could. You just had to have a space at the end of it. So eggs are basically sold out and they're over 2,000. So that's not an easy way to. Yeah, you can't just get them off the market very easily. Yeah, but basically what's nice about this is you could just buy the grilled sausage on the market. They were sitting there. It would cost you 20k for the grilled sausage. Get eggs however you need to, and then if it's 2,500 per, you need 4. That would be an extra cost of 10k, even if you're just getting them from your nodes, just like building in how much this is. So 10k, and then takes 2 soft bread and 5 vegetables. So 5 vegetables, pretty negligible cost, 1 to 1.5 thousand. Exactly, or paprika if that falls below. And then soft bread. What's the price of soft bread since you're making it? No? Alright, I'll check. Good. I think you should. That's right, that's why you got me. I'll just double check it. So, soft bread. Gotta plug my controller or my keyboard back into this. Wow, moist bread, the blue version of that is 20k. That's not gonna work. That's nuts. Maybe we'll just 2. That's really good. Soft bread, 10k. They're not really easily buyable. Yeah, they're sold out. Okay. That would make sense. Okay. Well, I would focus on Knights Combat's rations. It's a very good, easy recipe to make. So if you can make your own ham sandwiches, you'll be just making extra profit. It's fine. But if you have to buy them, you're good to go. So, and then since the blue meat croquets were only 17k a piece, I would definitely put a buy order on that. And just consider that part of the whole opportunistic income. Whenever you get those, you're like, hell yeah, all my equity's built in, time to make another batch. And just keep grabbing as many of those as you can. It's also still incredibly profitable, like we said, over 30 million an hour cooking, if you're just buying the meat croquet at 30k a piece, and the greens do sit there. But if you can get the blue at 17k a piece, I mean, now you're looking at over 40 million an hour. So it's just up to you if you want to cook more actively and more often and get that 30 mil. But I think grinding and some gathering could probably beat that, or at least meet that. But this is completely AFK, so I mean, it's a really good system here. Now that's only one complex recipe, right? So if we look at Knights Combat's Ration as an umbrella, you basically have essence of liquor that goes into exotic herbal wine. The exotic herbal wine goes into the fruit wine. You have grilled sandwich or grilled sausage. You have soft bread, dough and eggs and milk and meat are necessary for this soft bread and grilled sausage. That becomes this ham sandwich. So that's 2 out of the 4, and then you have your bloody pudding or your dark pudding with the oatmeal, and oatmeal's its own recipe using a lot of milk, using onions, and that folds into dark pudding. So making your own oatmeal, going into the dark pudding, just much more profit, good to go. And then your final part was meat croquet, which basically requires, I think it's 8 red meat. It's a pretty expensive recipe, but they sit on the market. Let me see your meat price, because that'll determine something. But that's only one of the specials, right? We haven't talked about Serendia or Balanos or Arahaza or Valencia or anything like that, and they all require a totally different umbrella. But that's what the overarching view of Knights Combat's Rations looks like. I'll glance through and see if there's any much more profitable recipes that you should skip to instead, but you'll be really good to go with Knights Combat's. Yeah, I mean, so the profit just buying meat straight off of the market, 6k a piece, 5k a piece, and then making your own meat croquet, that would just be a standard 20 to 30 million an hour meat croquet recipe. So if you're making your own meat croquet, you don't have to buy it. You're making your own bloody pudding, you don't have to buy it. You're making your own ham sandwiches, you don't have to buy it. That right there is just going to push your overall 30 mil an hour towards that 40 million an hour mark. And you can just buy fruit wine because, while it's still profitable, it's, you know, it's one of the lower profits. Exactly, opportunity cost. All right, so other fruits or other foods. How are we doing on time? We are, dang, we're getting there. Crap. This is fun, dude. Oh man, it does. All right, I'll just glance through real quick, and then if I see something, then you can just look up the recipe later. Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's big money. Okay, so for your notes, you want to look at the price of lion meat, and as long as the thing isn't over like 20. Do you really? Nice job. So have you been selling it? Good. And you do want to. The only real issue with Jungle Hamburg is like it requires 4 lion meat, and if you're making 2.5 procs of the 35k with a 30% chance of making 120k, you're good to go. Just make sure that you get your cooking level 15 over the minimum level to make the rare proc, because that's when you get the max. Okay. Alright, so I gotta tell you, so, oh my god, dude. Everything I'm looking at looks incredibly profitable. You could basically straight up buy all the materials off of the market for special Aureus meal and then churn out the same kind of 30 to 40 million an hour cooking Aureus meal. Knights Combats is the big one to focus on because you can like indefinitely do it as you just keep on getting milk and you keep on getting the subcomponents, and that's fantastic. Valencia's okay. It's not bad. It's definitely still profitable, still pretty good. Special Madaya is a bit odd. So the rare proc for Special Madaya is 460k right now. And the rare proc for Calfy on meal is 560k. God, dude, that makes all of these worthwhile. So Balanos is definitely worthwhile, and it's an easy one to make, like Knights Combats. So Knights Combats should be on your list for first thing to make. Balanos in a couple weeks if you want to experiment, it's good profit right there. Serendia, same kind of thing if you want to experiment, it's really good profit. Calpheon's a complex, harder recipe, but it's not anything you can't do. You might want to make that later on, and the profit is good. I wouldn't say it's like stop everything you're doing in the game just to make them, but it is good, and it's something that you should probably look at. Madaya is a harder recipe as well, typically not that profitable unless the base proc of Madaya is over 50, but that's assuming the special proc is like half its current price. So there's still some profit in Madaya, but it's not a, yeah, so that's still like worth looking at, but it's not a super top list. Valencia meal, people that want to have, it's people that want to have crit gems in their gloves instead of speed gems and stuff, basically. So yeah, I would say your top 3. Oh, that's where it is. Oh, I forgot about that one. So maybe your top 5, we'll say. Knights Combats, Jungle Hamburg, Serendia Special, Balno Special, and Aureus meal. And you're looking at basically profit that is so good that you could pretty much cook indefinitely, gather and cook indefinitely if you had to just gather and farm specifically for this, and it would probably make as much as all of your other income systems right now. Farming is worth it in small amounts, so you could do it to build some extra onions. That would be a big bottleneck. Some extra pepper, that's another bottleneck. Right, and then, you know, milk is probably something that you can buy, I think. Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's a very sustainable thing. So, right. I loved cooking, and I went from like Master 29 to Guru 12 pretty dang quickly, and then have another alt that's Master 23. Oh wow. Okay. That's funny. Cool. Okay. Wow. Well, good stuff, man. Right. Makes sense. So I ended up actually selling all of the things for cooking because it was so profitable, and I realized I could endlessly do it without ever having to stop. So I basically was like, I've cooked to my satisfaction, I'm now done. And I even sold my costume just because I don't think I'm going to be in Black Desert all that much longer in general. So for me, I'm just kind of like, okay, that's one category I'm done with. But I've always liked it, and it's always been great money. And doing these recipes now before cron meals come out, you're right, it is going to be fantastic, over the top. People won't even be able to touch what you're producing whenever you really get that. And I mean, I can make money on cron meals buying all the specials off of the marketplace and then just making them AFK. Yeah. Yeah, for PvP? Yeah, there's a 4... Yeah. Yeah, there's a 4 food rotation that's just slightly better, and that's why you see the high price of Jungle Hamburg for the rare one, because that's what people are using for it. And that's why all these specials are 400k. So, yeah. Alright, man. Even though we're over an hour, I do want to go over these next future things for you. So when Underwater Gathering comes out for Margoria, you should have some kind of rotation where you're basically gathering the pearl oysters, because they're going to give you shrimp and they're going to give you lobsters. And Margoria specials, being able to just gather them yourself and produce them, will be an easy over 100 million an hour process. And what's really nice is that'll be kind of interval income, basically, because you can put an alt out there with an underwater costume, and whenever you're, you know, just taking a break, you go get some shrimp and you get some lobsters. And that's just one of the things you would stockpile for months, and then, you know, you go and you batch it out, and that's something that you just want to watch. So sea monster hunting, very important. Sea monster hunting is going to be well over 200 million per hour if your entire guild gets involved. It gets... You probably will, because it's actually the best money in the least amount of time outside of these crazy gymnastics we do in the market. Yeah, so you should expect your guild to do it. It will, if it's gonna stay how it is. But sea monster hunting just means, you know, you gotta buy logs at some point early on, and then be ready to build that Etheria ship. The Etheria ship will have a faster speed than a frigate, but it won't have the same firepower. Either one is about as good for sea monster hunting. You don't have to wait until the frigates come out. No, you won't need to. That would be for killing whales and things. Right, no, it's separate. So when Port Rat comes out, there's basically going to be trading where you can buy items on the other side of the world, swap servers, buy more of them, fill up your whole Etheria ship, and then take it over to Valencia or take it to Medaya. There's little quests that say, turn me into, like, Velia, turn me into Altanova, stuff like that. And it's a very slow process of going back and forth across this ocean. It's largely AFK, or just like you're kind of mind dead. You aim your ship and you like wait 45 minutes and try to dodge a hurricane or two. And something like that will be over 50 million an hour if you have a Master 10 trading setup and you know, hop your channels and buy those. So it's not something I ever liked, but it should be known. Right, if you just, you know, it's easy to get burnt out and be like, all right, I just need to read a book or watch a movie, and then all you have to do is sail back and forth for a couple of days and you're still making money, so it's useful. Caphras Gathering. When Caphras comes out, Caphras is going to be freaking insane, so you want to... That's when it gets really profitable. So you need to have some wagons by this point for sure, where they're loaded up with magic tools. You should have like 200 or 300 extra magic tools, lumbering axes and pickaxes primarily for Caphras. You do. Yeah, you do. So lumbering and magic tools, yeah. Get an extra couple hundred of them, you know, that only takes maybe, I don't know, 2 stables with 40 wagons in them, and it's not hard to get. Drafts, probably one of my favorite ways to ever make money in the game. Drafts are fantastic, dude. So the way that really gets crazy profitable is you have 10 farms, you plant things like we'll say 10 special wheats, and not only are you getting the T9 mats from just doing the standard byproducts of farming, but you also get fruits. So fruit of the sun comes from the wheats that you would plant. Fruit of the sun, as you know, goes into the oil of corruption. Oil of corruption goes into the perforation, or on the Xbox server, penetration elixir, and then that becomes part of these drafts. Now we're talking about billions within like days of. You're going to be able, if you made your whole system about farming and alchemy and drafts, when it comes out, you're probably going to be able to produce 5 or 10 billion in like a week and a half or something. It'll be fantastic. So be completely aware of when drafts come out, be ready to farm, watch whatever guides I have on farming if you haven't already. And yeah, so the drafts is a pretty big future system. But that's pretty much it, dude. I think that's about all I can tell you right now. And honestly, you have everything that I would want someone to have, you know, all the tools available. I'm really excited with what you've learned and what you've been able to do so far. Cool, man. Think it was worth the 300 bucks? Yeah, nice. I'm happy to hear that, dude. Definitely happy to hear that. And yeah, I'm always available for questions, you know, anytime. It's not like it's gonna be pay gated or something like that, so you can ask me in stream, you can ask me on Discord or Twitter. Twitter's where I respond most often, so that's the easiest place. But I really want to hear how this goes for you, dude. Yeah, as you have questions, hit me up. As things go well, tell me. As things go wrong, tell me. If you have investment ideas, you know, I can definitely review them and stuff. Practice investing. That was the last thing I didn't tell you about. So you should probably practice investing about 10% of your silver, you know, at different times, or we'll say like 5% of your net worth, or 10% of your silver. Either way, that's a pretty low amount, but you do want to practice, and it's okay to be wrong. Just get that education. And dude, I promise you, ultimately over the course of years, nothing can make more money than knowing how to invest well, because your profit is really your earned salary as an investor based off of your knowledge of the marketplace. All right, man, I think it's safe to say that you're now going BladeStyle. You're welcome, man. I really enjoyed it. Thank you as well. Any last minute questions while you got me? We got everything? Cool. Have fun cooking, dude. Let me know how that goes, because it looks like there's quite a bit of profit hanging out on the server. Alright, man. Take care. You too. See ya.